Yo guys, welcome to a brand new video. Today I'm going to be showing you a Warlock Prismatic build utilizing the X-Deers grenade launcher and the Fallen Sunstar helmet. Let's get straight into this. We're going to be using the Nova Bomb super for this, but feel free to use any of these supers. Depending on the super you use is also what you're going to be getting off of Facet of Purpose. We will get into that here in a second. We're going to be using Phoenix Dive, Burst Glide, Arcane Needle, Storm Nade, Weaver's Call, Feed the Void, and for our fragments, we're using Facet of Dominance, Facet of Protection, Facet of Purpose, and here's where the super comes into play. So the way that this fragment works is depending on the super you're using, you either get Restoration, Amplified, Overshield, Frost Armor, or Woven Mail. And I would do either Arcane, or not Arcane, the Nova Bomb or the Needle Storm, just so you can get either the Overshield or Woven Mail. Those two supers are probably the strongest right now because the Song of Flame super, unfortunately, is bugged because of the ignition bug, which, as far as I'm still aware of, is still a bug. Whatever super you want, that's what you're going to get off of it. We're also using Facet of Sacrifice and also Facet of Awakening. But let's go over these real quick. So Facet of Dominance is going to be giving us Jolt for our Storm Nade. Facet of Protection is going to be giving us a lot of damage reduction, and when we're Transcendent, which is quite a lot, you get even more damage reduction. Facet of Purpose we just went over. For me currently, it is giving me an Overshield. It's a constant Overshield. You'll never not have an Overshield, but you also get Frost Armor with this build, which I will show you later when we get to the weapons. Facet of Sacrifice, this is how we're getting all of our darkness energy for the most part, along with our Arcane Needle and our Weaver's Call. But we have Infinite Devour from Feed the Void, so we're always having one of the light buffs proccing, but you also get Amplified, pretty much infinite from X-Deers. So we have tons of darkness energy coming in, and obviously we're doing a Lightning Nade, and X-Deers is a light damage weapon, so you get tons of light energy as well. And the Nova Bomb is a light energy, so tons of light energy already, and then you feeding Sacrifice, all that to get all your darkness energy. And then Facet of Awakening is how we're getting Ionic Traces. All right, ladies and gentlemen, for the weapons, I am currently using Bullet Endings with Headstone Dragonfly, which it just does very well, which also can proc Frost Armor from the artifact, which we also get to later. But if you want to see my roll, I have Fluted Barrel, Flared Mag, Headstone with Dragonfly. This is a very, very good ad clearing weapon, which you could also throw on a special ammo finder on this if you want to get more special ammo that way. But we'll get to the armor mods soon, which you don't really need to worry about making too much special because we already make a ton of it. And obviously the main weapon for this build is going to be X-Deers, which did get a ton of buffs. This weapon basically will spawn moths, and one of the main things that we're going for here is not only do the moths do very good damage, it's like 30k a moth, which you're going to be spamming the shit out of these, but they also blind with the loyal moth trait here. And the other thing that you can do with this weapon, if you've never used it before, is you can spam it. You don't have to reload it ever. You just spam it infinitely, because it just kind of reloads itself pretty much. But yeah, the moth's blinding is one of the main things that we're going for here. And for the power weapon, I'm using the Chill Inhibitor with Envious Explosive and all this stuff. You can pretty much use whatever heavy you want. This doesn't really matter. I just prefer this weapon. If you wanted some other options for the kinetic slot, you could run something maybe like a Chroma Rush. Something preferably that can break Stasis Shards to get Frost Armor, which if you have a Rhyme Steel... whatever the fuck this hand cannon's called, with Rhyme Stealer Headstone, that would also work. You could use the Fair Judgment, which you get from the vendors. So you're like your Zavalas, your Shacks, your Drifters. This is the weapon. This is the current, I think, ritual weapon, you could say. But one of the roles is Rhyme Stealer Headstone. This is another way to get Frost Armored for even more damage reduction. But that being said, you don't really need the Frost Armor. But let's move over to the Fallen Sunstar helmet for the Warlock. So basically what this helmet does is whenever you collect an Ionic Trace, it moves faster, but the main thing is that it gives you a ton more ability energy, because Ionic Traces already give you that ability energy, but now this is going to make it even more. It's like half of your ability per Ionic Trace, which we're making tons of Ionic Traces with this build. For the gloves, nothing too crazy. We're using firepower to make orbs, impact induction, so whenever we use our melee, we'll get grenade back. Whenever we use our grenade, we'll get our melee back. So it's almost kind of like Heart of Endless Light for Titan. We're just spamming everything we have to feed our nade and our melee. And we also spam our Phoenix Dive, because remember we have Weaver's Call on there as well. So I usually just spam everything, because you get everything back like rapidly. So, but yes, that's so we can get our grenade and the melee are the main points here that we want to keep going. The Phoenix Dive you don't necessarily have to spam, but I usually do. And then we're on the chest piece. So for the chest piece, I'm running Concussive Dampener, and then Solar and Arc Resist. You can change these resistances to whatever you want. Exteriors caps off at 40, even sometimes 39 it feels like, but it doesn't go above any of that, so there's no point in doing this. That's why we're running just straight resist mods. Alright, now we are on the boots, so we're going to be using Arc Scav. So basically whenever we create a brick with our finder, or a natural brick just spawns, it takes about 3 bricks to completely fill up Exderis all the way up to 39 shots again. So you pretty much should always have Exderis up. The whole point of this build is that you're basically using Exderis as a primary. You should never not be using Exderis for this build. We're also going to be using Absolution, so whenever we pick up orbs, we reduce all of our cooldowns. And then we have an Innervation to reduce our grenade even more, because out of all of the abilities, the grenade is the most important one, so we do want to have that up as much as possible. And for the bond, this is where we get even more ammo generation. We're going to be using Special Ammo Finisher. And this is where most of our orbs are going to be going when we're making them. Pretty much whenever we get a full 3 stack, we consume that to generate a special ammo brick, which is a full brick. So whenever we pick that up, we'll get like 15 shots from that brick. So with the scav mod on, of course, which we also have the powerful attraction, which is also one of the other reasons why I spam my Phoenix Dive. You're always picking up those orbs. I usually try to do a finisher on the bigger targets, like your champions, or maybe like just the yellow bars or the orange bar fellas. Whenever you hit them and they're about to die, just throw a finisher out there every once in a while, and yeah, just do a finisher. Get those special bricks. But we also got Reaper. Whenever using our class ability, we'll get an orb from that. So that's another reason to spam your Phoenix Dive. When it comes to the artifact mods, I'm running Unstop, Pulse, Anti-Bear Shotgun, Overload, GL. One with the Frost. This is going to be whenever we have that Frost armor. Even though we don't have it that often, you don't really need it. But when you do have it, you'll be gaining from that. Feel the Revenant, obviously, is just free damage against Scorn. Rapid Impacts. Dealing damage with the GL temporarily increases the reload speed. It doesn't really affect the Exderis, but still a nice to have. And we need to have certain things unlocked so we can get to the next row anyway. But Trace Evidence, this is the most important one here. So rapid precision hits or rapid final blows on targets affected by Jolt or Blind will generate ionic traces. And like I said, the grenade, since we have Facet of Dominance, is doing Jolt for our lightning grenade, and Exderis's Moths cause Blind. So pretty much everything that we do is going to be proccing this as well. So now we have 2 sources of making these ionic traces. We got Wind Chill for whenever we have Frost Armor, Rapid Precision. This is how we're actually getting the Frost Armor. So, yeah, you have to have Wind Chill. Hail the Storm, whenever we shatter those guys with the headstones that we make, we'll get some bonuses from that. Concussive Reload is pretty decent. We're going to definitely want this. Using a GLO to damage a boss, damage a champion, or break command shield weakens them. Serve Cold, Stasis Shards, grant class ability energy. So we do have that as well. And whenever we pick up Void Breaches from our Nova Bomb, we will get melee energy as well from those. And I will say this as well. Exderis can also stun Unstops because of the blind that the Moths can do as well. So just keep that in mind. And before we get to the gameplay, I do want to give a couple of tips for this build. Be careful when you're shooting Exderis, because the gun sometimes will just shoot invisible walls, or you can shoot your own moth and kill yourself. Exderis likes to also make contact with other things. Like, let's say an enemy shoots at you, they can easily shoot the fucking Exderis bolt, whatever thing, and it'll kill you. Exderis has insane self-damage, so just be careful when you're shooting it.